What's going on? It's Big Mike coming to you from the One Life podcast, coming to you live. Just coming to the game, coming at it from a different perspective. I want people to understand my perspective on life, how I look at things. You're going to see things through my purview. You know what I mean? How I look at life, how I look at music, how I look at sports, how I look at clothing or fashion, I might say. And put it all into one. Just one podcast embodying all of these different things that represent urban culture and just American culture in general. And how American culture affects life from all over the world, how it's touched the world, how hip-hop culture has changed the world, how urban culture has changed the world, how a group of people that was considered at the bottom of the barrel of culture has influenced the world is an amazing feat. So I want to just talk about that, talk about all things having to do with culture in general, American culture, what American culture is considered to be. But I think one of the best ways to do that, being my age bracket, who I am, what I am, where I'm from, I think the best way to start it off, my podcast, is to discuss what my top 5 rappers are. Because I think through my top 5, you can kind of get an idea of the type of person you're going to be dealing with throughout this podcast. You know, I think you're going to be able to see how I'm seeing things or through the eyes I'm seeing it just based off of that. Because when I speak to people and I ask them their top 5, similar to the movie Chris Rock had, which was a great movie to me, I think you're able to really get an idea of who they are. It's hard today for these young dudes, these young 15, 16, 13, 12-year-olds to do it. But they should be able to, because with the internet, you're able to go back. I know it's not the same impact for you actually being there and being able to witness the impact that music had at that particular moment in time. But there's music from the 60s and 70s that I'm not able to hear. But when I hear Marvin Gaye, or when I hear some of these other amazing artists, I could hear the impact, and it brings the chills to my back, even though I wasn't born to experience it. But when I play it back, I'm like, wow, do you hear that? So I'm kind of able to go back into that time the best that I can and try to experience it through the eyes of the people that actually witnessed it. So with that being said, I'm going to go into the top 5. And that's how I want to start the podcast. It took me careful deliberation to really think about, how should I start this podcast? What should I start it with? Should I start with politics? Should I talk about Trump? Should I talk about this one? Should I talk about everybody's dramas in their life or what they're going through? I was like, you know what? I want to come at this differently. I want to go with my top 5. So this is going to be the first in a 5-part series, because each individual artist I'm going to speak about, and I'm going to count it down from there. So I'm going to start with number 5, because I think that's how I should go. So my top 5 artist is going to be from Detroit. His name is Marshall Mathers. You know, a lot of people might say, why is he in my top 5, or why should he even be in the top 5, being that, you know, supposedly he's not from the culture, which I don't know what that is, because urban culture just doesn't embody black people. Yes, black people are the originators of that urban culture, but it's been adopted by many people, and we've all benefited from that. When we come out with clothing, when we come out with sneakers, when we go out and dress, when we sleep with other cultures' women, or when they feeling us because of our swag. So we've all benefited from urban culture. If you're a black female, black male, so we can't benefit from it and then leave somebody out due to their culture. You know what I mean? Even though they do that to us, but that doesn't make it right. If we do the same thing in return, we got to be better. So we got to look at it objectively. And from an objective standpoint, Eminem belongs in the top 5 due to his lyrical ability alone. He deserves to be in the top 5. I've heard other podcast people that I'm a huge fan of, like a Lord Jamar, for example. I'm a big fan of Brand Nubians. They were a great rap group at that particular moment in time, and he's a very impactful voice in hip-hop today, and he's well needed, to be honest with you, because he just comes at things from a different perspective. But as big as a fan as I am of Lord Jamar, that doesn't mean I have to agree with everything he says. And when he says that real niggas don't drive around listening to Eminem, he has a point, you know what I mean? But that doesn't take away from his impact. There was young dudes that were living in suburban areas that had no idea all of the brick talk and all of that stuff, and maybe they was a little suicidal, maybe they felt insecure, maybe they had a little school bully, but they loved listening to hip-hop. They had Tupac posters, Biggie posters, Nas, whatever on their wall, and then this dude comes in the late 90s, 97, 98, 99, coming out, battling and building up the ranks to be that voice, to be that embodiment of those little young backpackers that they could finally look at and be like, wow, look at this dude. He's out here being one of the best amongst titans, amongst black titans. dudes that they felt insecure to be around. And in Eminem's rhymes, he speaks of his insecurities and things he had to go through moving up the ranks being a white artist. So a lot of the fans that he had, that he cultivated, were able to relate to that. The same way when we hear different hood rappers, or I mean not say hood rappers, the dudes that came from where we came from, we were able to relate to their stories because we lived through them stories. So the same way with Eminem, those dudes lived through these stories. So when we talk about in terms of record sales, a lot of the what we call quote unquote, I hate using the word backpacker, but I have to because, you know what I mean, that gives you a description of who the type of people I'm speaking about. And backpacker could come black, white, whatever it may be, that were listening to Brand Nubians, that were listening to Mos Def, that were listening to Talib Kweli. Because I used to go to those shows because these are artists I was fans of, and I still am till today. So when you go look at those shows, you can't front. You know who's in the crowd. Let's just keep it real. You know what I mean? The hood ain't there like that. You know, when you go to these Rock the Bell shows and these festivals, these hip hop festivals, we know who's buying the majority of the tickets. Let's keep it real. So we can't be mad at a dude that embodied it and represented that and had the lyrical ability to be able to hold the ears of that fan base for a very long period of time. So with that being said, which is why I got to put that man in the top 5, because he represented a particular fan base that he was the best at. He was the best for that fan base. He was the best in that genre. He is the greatest white rapper of all time. He is. There's no question. It's undoubtedly. So for that group of people that supported the art for that many years and still support it till today, yeah, there's some culture vultures. There's some people out there that only like to hear the ignorant side of it. There's executives and all of the different things that people say, blah, blah, blah. But numbers is numbers. We know who buys records. Let's keep it real. You know what I'm saying? We know who buying these records. We know who paying for these shows. Yo, his first LP was crazy. Like when they first hit the scene, nobody was talking that. Dude talking about putting his wifey in the trunk, daughter in the car, a whole descriptive tale. Sounded like a Stephen King novel of this dude driving around with sound effects. His daughter in the car driving, about to bury shorty, put in the water or some shit. Like, yo, what? Like, this dude was wilding the fuck out, guilty conscious, and talking about being bullied, and, you know what I mean, D'Angelo Bailey and all of these crazy illmatic stories he was kicking. Like, yo, man, that shit was fire. You know what I'm saying? It was from a different perspective. The drug use, the mushroom use, all of that stuff that I ain't know nothing about that. We chilling in QU, chilling in NY. We ain't taking pills and mushrooms and all of that. That's not what we about. But he was he was bringing us into the viewpoint of what they go through. The same way where we brought them to what we go through, he brought us to what they go through. He was the fucking vehicle to let us see what those young suburban kids was dealing with. Like, damn, y'all dudes is depressed, y'all dudes are suicidal, you doing all types of weird drugs. I'm like, damn, sucks to be you. The same way they could say the same for us, sucks to be us. You know what I'm saying? So he brought that perspective to it. Then he came back around and came back with another one, hitting tracks with the second album. Well, that Black America's his third album. I was about to bring that up, how he was breaking down how his complexion dealt to his success, etc., etc. But let's go back to the album before that, when he started off with, again, giving some descriptive Stephen King tale about how he chopping his shorty up, doing all types of crazy stuff, which is shit, you know what I mean? I'm not really, like, I'm not saying I'm into it, but we acting like we don't watch horror movies and be like, oh shit, look at this horror. So he was like horror rap at the time, and he really probably believed that stuff. He really wanted to do it. He was just acting it out through record, you know what I'm saying? So he was like a, man, I hate to use these words, I don't want to get blocked, but he was like a school shooter on record with rhymes and shit, the way he was talking. Like, damn, dude, you wilding out. You got a lot of issues. But he was speaking those issues through record, you know what I'm saying? It was dope. So he continued on, you know what I mean? He had 3 back-to-back classic albums, which is not easy to do. I think I said that in the beginning, but if I didn't, I'm going to say it again. 3 back-to-back classic LPs with ridiculous stories of Stan and all of these stories and all of this stuff that he was able to project. You know what I mean? The reason he's not higher on my top 5, because again, I said 3 to back-to-back classics. Gotta emphasize that, because after that, he kind of took a downhill turn, man. You know, he had Encore, still lyrically dope compared to his contemporaries, but it was a fall off from what he was doing prior to that. And you could start seeing the effects of the drug use and all of this shit going on in his life, and the effects started going downhill. Then after that, I don't know, I don't want to get my timelines incorrect, but I know his close number one in his life died, my man Proof. You know what I mean? One of his influential members had beef with one of my other favorite MCs, Royce the 5'9", You know, they had their little spat at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he declined lyrically, which is why the top 5 is so important, and why I say I need to see it through longevity and time of what you're going through, because it shows the impact in life and it gives you a redemption tale of that particular artist, because that's a lot to go through. You have all of that material success. You the number one dude in the world. He couldn't leave his house. He was on some Michael Jackson shit at one point. Like, yo, Eminem was the man. Like, people from this era, if they don't know, or they probably do know, if you like 10, 11, 12, Eminem was our last big pop artist. There's absolutely, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you could bring it up to me that I don't know, maybe one of these little young boy bands, or that Asian boy band, or one of those types of groups. He was on that status. He was an official, transcended hip-hop to pop star status that no hip-hop artist has ever seen. Yes, I would agree that was due to his complexion, but that doesn't change the fact that he was a supreme pop star after his second and third LPs. He was huge. He was out of this motherfucking world. So he went through a lot after that. Drug use, friends dying, family suing him, all types of different things. Baby mama drama, his own insecurities that he had to probably confront with all of that money. And he had some duds after that. But what puts him and maintains him in that top 5, he was able to recover and come out with a recovery album that was pretty dope. It was pretty dope. It was a good album. I wouldn't call it necessarily a classic, but man, it was pretty close to it. Then he came back after, spitting lyrical hell on Bad Meets Evil, came back with his boy, his ace, him and Royce, dropping lyrical fire. I'm not gonna call it a classic, but it had some really dope standout joints and some lyrical heat on that album as well. So he had some duds after that, you know what I mean? That wasn't that good, but he was still spitting, and his lyrical ability was back to the top of its game at that point. Conceptually, I don't think he's ever reached where he was conceptually on his first 3 LPs, but that's a hard level to top, but he never topped it. So with him not being able to top it, I'm gonna have to leave him at number 5 on the list, because that's where he belongs. But he don't belong any lower than that. With his impact, with the amount of albums, with his lyrical ability, with the amount of flows he got, he belongs in the top 5. And his impact to the game, what he represents to the game, him representing, being the embodiment of the white backpacker that supported this art and paid tickets to all of the real conscious rappers and real lyricists of the game, all of those dudes in the crowd that bought merch. That's what he was. That was M. So him being that, we got to give those dudes credit and put him in the top 5. And as we go, we're going to go into number 4. I'm going to leave it like that. But number 4 is not going to be on this video. Number 4 is going to be on the next video. I'm going to break down who number 4 is and why that person's number 4, etc. And we're going to move up from there. And again, this top 5 gives a representation of how I look at things, how I look at the world, and how I believe the world should look at things. You know what I'm saying? Because I think I hit a lot of points. I think I touched on how Eminem had a whole genre of people, men, women, black or white, that he represented, and he brought that to the forefront, and he was the first to embody that. You know what I'm saying? His lyrical ability, his storytelling, his zany rhymes that no one else was doing. He brought something different to the game. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, whether you listen to it in your car, whether you ain't bumping it in the hood, whether you saying who's listening to that, whatever it is, that man sold a lot of records. Somebody was listening to that shit. I don't know. But with that being said, Eminem is a top 5 rapper. You know, he ain't number 1, he ain't number 2, he ain't damn near number 3, he ain't number 4, but that man's number 5. Alright? So we're gonna leave it like that, and we're gonna move on. Like and subscribe. If you got any comments, if you don't believe what I said, you know what I mean? Whether it be in recent times or as this video grows in views, I'm open for debate. I don't think you guys have any debate for me. Because remember, I need catalog, I need longevity, and you still got to be able to hit me with some rhymes in 2019. And don't hit me with some cat that sounded like a punch-drunk boxer in 2019. And don't hit me with Eminem sounding like a punch-drunk boxer, because he'll still eat 99.9999% of these rappers today, and everybody knows it. So let's not act like that shit ain't true. Y'all nitpicking at little verses and saying, oh, he said this, he said that. He's still spitting. We all know. Whether you like the songs, don't like the song, blah, 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 son's still spitting. So if you want to come at me and you have somebody else on your list that you think I should put ahead of Eminem, remember the criteria before you like, subscribe, or leave a comment. I need longevity. I need you to drop these LPs in a stretched out period of time to show growth, to show that you've been through some things, to bring different perspectives at different periods of time. You know? I need beats. You know what I'm saying? I need some impact there. I need all of that. So come at me with that. If not, just like and subscribe and shut the fuck up. Like the next video. 1.